Hello and welcome to another week of WP. Well, WA's museum has been known as a place to share the state's many stories, and now it'll do so once again. The new WA Museum Bulla Bardip reopens its doors this weekend, bringing back an opportunity to experience the state's rich and diverse natural and cultural heritage. This week we talked to Arts and Culture Minister David Templeman about the museum and its return.
Minister, welcome and congratulations.
Well, what a great day it is for Western Australians to see our new museum, Bulla Bardip, open, and I think it's going to be a wonderful celebration for all of those who come through this museum and celebrate West Australia's stories.
What about young people? What will interest them the most, you reckon?
Look, I'm always interested in how children and young people see our museum. I think young people will have a sense of wonderment when they go through the galleries. They'll probably be attracted by a lot of the digital interpretations, given that they've been born into a digital world. But the digital elements and the interpretations are very, very important because they will assist in telling the stories of all of the different galleries and all of the different contents of those galleries. So I think young people and kids will be amazed by the touch screens, they'll be amazed by the meteorites, they'll be amazed by the blue whale. But they'll also be very, very techno-savvy using the digital interpretation technology.
As a teacher yourself, this will be a heaven.
Well, yes, but you see, one of the challenges, the only challenge is that you won't have enough time in one day to take a class through here. As the Premier said earlier today, this is a multi-visit venue. You will need to visit this venue multi-times to really explore all of the stories that it has. But the other thing, of course, is we've got a temporary exhibition gallery, which over the course of a year will have a number of exhibitions, touring exhibitions, and of course there's no better one to start with for our new museum than, of course, Songlines, which is a celebration and acknowledgement of our Indigenous culture, and that is spectacular, and West Australians are going to get a chance to see that over the coming months and over next year.
Must-see feature.
The blue whale in Hackett Hall is must-see. So too are the interpretations of our wildlife. I particularly love the Wildlife Gallery because that celebrates our very, very unique West Australian fauna and fauna. And for a little bit of a trick, I love the old ute that sits out in one of the public spaces in the museum. I just love that because it's an artistic piece, but it's also a bit of rusted old history, which I think is worthy of acknowledgement too.
And I think that, to a certain extent, the importance of museums is that at the end of the day, if you look after history, if you treasure history, and history will be on your side, history will thank you for it.
Well, you know, during COVID, this building could have been prevented from being completed. And we didn't. We were able to complete this building, and they worked so hard to make sure, even under COVID restrictions, that it could be completed. But it also is a moment to reflect on where we are in the world. We are now living in one of the safest places, if not the safest place on earth. And we've got a unique story to tell across our landscapes, across our heritage, our Indigenous history, the most ancient culture of all is here. And we want to celebrate that. And of course, it's given us a chance to I suppose, collaborate all of those stories together, present them in unique ways, and we want to share that now with all West Australians, and they'll be very proud, but we want to share it with visitors when they come to Perth, when they're able to come to Perth safely, because that will give them a real snapshot of just what makes Western Australia so unique.
So the message to all West Australians, come now before you have to pay.
Well, no, because you've got 18 months certainly to come and visit, and as the Premier said this morning, you'll be wanting and needing to do multi-visits. So I'd plan, it'd be great for a weekend to come and have a look. There'll be moments when the museum will be open at night where you'll be able to come and have a look at during the evening, which is another different experience. The other thing I think which people perhaps may not understand, particularly at this time now, is the museum creates new spaces and places for activity, entertainment to take place too. The City Room, where we had the main opening this morning, is also a place that will see festival events, Awesome Festival, Perth Festival, Fringe Festival, all of those opportunities for celebration within the cultural heart of Perth. So this will bring revitalised life to the Perth Cultural Centre. We're going to spend more money on making sure the whole precinct is enhanced, but this will complement the great stuff, the Art Gallery WA, Heath Ledger Theatre, the State Theatre, the Blue Room, of course, the State Library. All of those cultural institutions that are part of the Perth Cultural Centre are only enhanced by a new museum, Bullabardip.
Minister, congratulations again on the new museum and thanks for your time.
Great to join you.
And now, AMA WA President Dr Andrew Miller has this week's update on COVID-19.
I want to start out this week by thanking Lisa Harvey for her service as the opposition leader. Boy, what a tough game being in politics. You're really in there trying to do your best for your party, for the community, and you're constantly having people firing shots at you. So good on you for your service, Lisa, and for making the tough choice at this stage to step aside. It might give the party a better chance in the lead up to the election. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the polls and whether the Libs can outline an agenda that appeals to the WA public. I think that very important to have an effective opposition whoever wins the next election. And on the health side, we'll be supporting both sides to come forward with constructive policies, not just around coronavirus, but around the cracks and the strains that we're seeing in the rest of the Western Australian system. It's been a weird week in terms of COVID in South Australia, with seeming a short, sharp lockdown that was then even shorter. Gives you the idea that the tracking and tracing capability of the states that haven't seen this before is a bit immature. If suddenly, one person or a few people telling contact tracers not exactly the right thing will result in a lockdown that maybe wasn't needed, seems a very strange outcome. And perhaps over time we will see these processes a bit more stringent so that we don't have something like this happen again. But erring on the side of caution is what we would always call for from my profession, because this is a really hard genie to get back in the bottle. And the two things that we know work are lockdowns and border controls. So I think that Western Australia in particular has handled this the right way at the moment. We'd like to see our government being more proactive in suggesting masks for the community be available. There'll be some people who can't afford to buy masks or won't know where to get them. Is the government going to supply those? What type of masks should the general community who can afford to get them buy? This is the kind of advice that should be out there now so that we've all got them in the cupboard, because we know that it can reduce spread by up to 30% during time of community spread. We know they've called on people to wear masks in New South Wales, they've mandated it in Victoria, they've asked them to do it in South Australia. They're going to ask us to do it here, so why don't we just get organised with it now? In the same vein, where are the sewage results we've been looking for? Where's the public health campaigns around ventilation? We are learning how important it is to have well-ventilated indoor spaces in particular. I think that most people knew that respiratory diseases spread better in cramped, indoor, stagnant conditions. So we need to fix all of those three things to keep our economy healthy, to keep our people healthy, and to continue with the good fortune that we've had here in Western Australia because of our arrangements. We've had some unfortunate interchanges with seeing the chair of the Infection Control Experts Group nationally, academic out of the East Coast, who doesn't work with patients, trying to tell frontline workers what they do and they don't need, and then trying to blame frontline workers for getting infected for doing the wrong thing, along with her colleagues. They've been suggesting this in Victoria. We're not going to cop this if the workplace is the place that has to introduce the risk controls. They have control over things like the engineering, the air conditioning, the workforce, the administration, when people have breaks, what sort of break rooms you have, what sort of laundry facilities, what showering facilities and so on. That's all in the hands of the bosses. Don't come back to the workers and say it was your fault because you took your mask off wrong at the end of the day when you haven't provided all of the risk controls. When there is reasonable risk of respiratory spread, so anywhere where there's indoor crowded locations, people must be using proper fit tested N95 masks. No one in Western Australia has been properly fit tested yet. They're planning on rolling it out in February, March. This is all too little too late at the moment. It's creeping up on us, and whilst we'll be having the good fortune of our continued border controls to protect us, we have to stay humble, we have to respect this disease, we have to stay one step ahead of it. So there's some other ways that we can stay one step ahead. So stay safe out there, and enjoy this beautiful weather, enjoy the good fortune we have, but don't forget to think about those overseas who are heading into a vicious third wave in some cases of this disease because it got out of control. So we need to stay humble. Thanks very much for your time.
And that's all for this week. We'll be back with another episode of WP next time, but until then, it's back to you.
Thank you, Nelson. And Matt, it's good to share the chair with you when Sarah's away.
Well, we're sharing a desk rather than a chair, but it has been a lot of fun. And viewers, if you'd like to learn more news and insights during the week, you can check out wamnnews.com.au.
No matter where you're watching, we wish you good health and good night.